Hey everybody, it's Dr. V. Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to hop on here really quick and do a reading that I was guided to do this morning by Spirit with some new cards actually. I've had these cards for a while and I've sat with them and read through them and done a lot of looking into the energies and getting familiar with the cards, but I've never felt released to use them until today. And so I got a real specific prompting to do this reading and to use this particular deck as the primary energies. So first let me say thank you so much to everybody who is just kind of really being here, supporting, for all of you that have sent in energy exchange donations. Thank you so much. It really inspires and encourages me to keep going on this path. For those of you who have booked private readings and who have reached out to me, I appreciate that deeply. I also wanted to note that another round of the coaching program, 7-week coaching program, will be starting soon, beginning of March. So if you want to hop in on that, go ahead and head over to my website and you can learn more about that. So enough chit chat, let's jump in. Spirit, please use me as a clear channel for communication. May the messages that come through be in the highest good of all those concerned. I draw a sacred circle around this space, setting my ego to the outside. I call upon my ancestors, higher wisdom, divine love, to be with me, guide me, protect this space, protect this energy, and protect the person who's listening and the person for whom they are listening. And so it is. So I'm using these are called the Mana cards, The Power of Hawaiian Wisdom by Catherine Kalama Baker and Doya Nardine. And so please forgive me because I probably will not pronounce these names correctly, but if you're familiar with the Hawaiian culture and you want to educate me and tell me how to pronounce them correctly, I would greatly appreciate that and obviously take that into consideration. So the question that this is about, what's going on beneath that, like what's happening with the person the person that you are thinking about, easy for me to say, the person that's in your heart space. We want to know kind of just what's going on behind the scenes, what's happening with them, what's happening that you don't know. So let's just look at that. First of all, I just want to look at what is it that they want you to know. So the first card we have is Pueo. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, please, again, forgive me. Very interesting because I see a bird flying on there, and so this is a card. It's an owl. So owls are about guidance. Owls are about wisdom. This is about saying, look, this is about you being connected to the higher self. So what they want you to know is that they really are connected to their higher self. They may not have conveyed that to you. You may not see it, you may not be aware of it. But what I'm getting is that they really are starting to get connected. They might have been unconscious and tuning this energy out for quite some time. They might have been in a space where they were not really showing or connecting with you and in the higher dimensions, or even being connected to their higher self. They might have just really blocked out any higher wisdom and higher intuition. But now what I'm seeing is that they really are getting guidance. They really are getting information, downloads. They are starting to see things. They may be getting signs, synchronicities. They are they're getting very clear messages that they can't keep ignoring their spiritual development or their personal growth. If they've been ignoring it or avoiding it or denying it, this card is showing up to say, look, enough is enough. You can't continue doing that. This is something that needs to happen. You've really got to wake up to what's happening in your life and follow the internal guidance. You can't always, especially if you're a twin flame or a soulmate, somebody who's here on divine mission, whose soul came here to fulfill a specific purpose. Spirit isn't, there's always free will. We always have to remember that there's free will, but Spirit will throw obstacles and there will be things that will happen in order to get you on the path, and to help encourage you to get on track. And that's what I'm getting here, is that there are things that are happening to get them on track. And from the Next World Tarot by Christy Rode, the Wheel of Fortune. again, cycles coming to completion. Okay, so part of what they're getting is that there are cycles that need to wrap up. There are things that need to come to a conclusion. There's also about taking a spin. Sometimes we do things, you know, we spin the wheel of fortune, like if you think about the game show, and things work out and it lands, you know, we get win the vacation to Puerto Rico. Then other times we go bankrupt. And sometimes we might be afraid to take that chance and to spin the wheel again because our last endeavor didn't work out so well. And so this is saying that they really have overcome some cycles. They've really moved through some things that they needed to move through, that had to happen because they were stuck. They were stuck for quite some time. And this is saying, like, it's time to just really this is a turning point for them, okay? This is a point where they're making some choices, following their guidance, their wisdom, and looking at the way that they've lived their lives, the choices that they've made in the past. Are the choices that you're making serving your highest good and your spirit and soul development? Are they serving your ego? What's happening here? And I feel like if they're making choices that are serving their ego, that are, you know, only contributing to their own benefit, they're not helping other people, they're not really being in service to community, they're really just in a self-serving type of energy, that's going to come tumbling down. It's not something that's going to stay at this point in their life. It's like what they're saying, what they want you to know is that at this point in their life, they're starting to understand, at least on a spiritual level, that you can't just live your life any kind of way when you have sacred soul contracts. They've been doing that. They've done things in the past that were not in alignment, as we all have. Not every, you know, all of us have done things that were shitty and that we shouldn't have done, and that we learned and grew from it. And that's what they're saying, is that they're like, I'm starting to understand things in a new way. And I'm understanding that the choices that I make really determine my future. And there's this meme that goes around, and it's always funny, but it's like, life is hard, but it's harder if you make bad choices, something along those lines. And that's what they're starting to understand. What they want you to know is that they realize that they've made some bad choices in the past, and that it has caused a lot of problems and a lot of pain. But now they're starting to get some guidance, and they're starting to understand that they need to make choices that are truly aligned with their values. It's one thing to say, to profess values. A lot of people do this. They have stated values where they say, well, I believe X, Y, and Z. But then if you look at their life, you're like, yeah, okay, well, you might say that you believe that, but your actions don't support that. And so this is about getting into integrity and alignment with yourself and your values. So let's look at what their intention is right now, their intention toward you. So we got Maui. Yay, Maui. And so Maui is about really, I mean, it's a little bit, you know, Maui is a shapeshifter, kind of a trickster type of energy. And so this is part of what their intention is towards you is, it's still not completely in alignment with integrity. Part of what I feel like they're growing and they're doing some transformation, but there still is some of that trickster energy. It's still some of that playboy type of energy, not taking things seriously. They still may not see you as the sacred being that you are. They're getting closer, but they're not quite there. And so this is, I feel like what this is saying, because the way that this is described in the book is saying that if you listener are planning a particular course of action, something that you're trying to do, you may want to rethink that, because this trickster type of energy is, you know, if you're waiting around for them, for instance, if you're hoping that they're going to come around, and maybe they've even given you indications. Maybe they've even said to you that they're planning on coming back. Maybe they've said things like they're going to leave their current situation, or they want to get back together. They may have told you that, and you've been making plans accordingly. But this is a card of caution. Just be careful, because they may not follow through with that. Their intentions are still not clear. okay? They are still not entirely within integrity towards you. It just feels like you just need to be really cautious and really understand the risk that you're taking. Understand that, sure, you can choose to wait and to, hope for them to come around and make a different choice and behave differently. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that if it's your choice. Just recognize the risk that you're taking if that's the choice that you make, because again, they may not be entirely upfront. So we have the Nine of Wands. Part of this, though, is about building your resilience spiritually. Part of why this is happening is that it's teaching you how to be resilient and how to be strong. I am not in any way, shape, or form encouraging you to stay in a shitty relationship if you're in a shitty relationship. I will never, ever encourage that. I will say set boundaries, make healthy decisions, do what's right for you, do what you need to do. But part of this is about encouraging you to grow in your strength. So part of their intention spiritually, this is a higher intention, this is not something that they may even be conscious of, is about helping you grow as well. My friend Laurie always talks about the sacred wound, and that sometimes people that we love and that we care about deliver unto us a sacred wound, and that wound's purpose is to help us grow and to help us transform. And so in spiritually speaking, from a higher perspective, part of their intention, part of what they're trying to accomplish through this tumultuous time and the difficulties within this relationship is to help you to grow in your resilience and to be stronger, more conscious, more active, aware, really standing in your truth and your power and your integrity and who you are as a person. That's part of what's happening here. So what's going on in their mental space toward you? See, that's 29, which equals 11. And that's, I'm probably not going to say this right, but mo'o is what I'm thinking. This is about, in their headspace, they've got a lot of fears, okay? This is about facing fears so you can overcome them. This is about, what they're really needing to do is acknowledge their fears and think about their fears and face them. What is the thing that they most fear? What is the thing that they most concerns them? And they are very concerned, I feel, about it mentally, about having people think very highly of them. They're still attached to their image or their, how people see them. They want to be seen in a certain light. And so sometimes they may hesitate to take action and to move things forward because they're afraid of that they might be seen in a certain light, or they might not, people might not like them, or people might talk about them. So this is, in their mental space, they're really dealing with a lot of fears. They're feeling trapped. They may even be afraid to come forward and have a conversation with you because they're afraid of what you might say. They're afraid of how you might perceive them. They're really afraid of, part of what's happening right now is that their fears are blocking their progress. This is what I'm getting is this person is that you're listening for is someone who's really fear-based. They operate a lot out of just fear energy and not so much out of confidence and power and feeling like they have the ability to go forward. And I do get that part of that is because they've been out of integrity in some ways, and so they're afraid that some things might come back to haunt them, and so they're a little cautious about that, and so they may be holding themselves back out of fear. Interesting. So in their headspace, though, they're really, this card is, temperance is about balance. This is about, in the traditional tarot, it's an angel and the water's flowing up and down. This is about balance. It's often seen as a twin flame union card. And so in their headspace, they are thinking about this. Like they know that they need to come into a space of balance, that they need to come into a space of integrity, of wholeness, of fullness. That's what needs to happen. They're very aware of that. Because I get, again, this energy of feeling like you can't always run and hide from everything. Like if you live in a space, if you're living or have in the past lived out of integrity. It's like, you know, it happens. People do it. We all make mistakes. We all make bad choices. There is no judgment in that. But there is a point where you have to just like kind of shine a light into that and stop trying to hide it and stop trying to avoid it. And so this is what they're trying to do, is really getting into a space of balance and patience. This is mentally, they're afraid because they know that they've been out of balance. They're afraid. They're kind of maybe facing some of the fears. Well, what's the worst that can happen? You know, maybe needing to be more authentic and realizing that they need to be more authentic, because it's funny because, you know, you guys know, if you've been listening to my channel, I get a lot of messages from like movies and songs. And what I'm seeing here is part of what they're thinking about is like that energy of Eminem in the movie 8 Mile. There's a scene where he's in a rap battle, and what he does is he like tells all his business. Like, rap battles are often about like shit talking the other person, and in this particular scene he just like tells all of his business, like, my mom is this, my girlfriend that, and he like really puts himself out there on Front Street. And the guy that he's having the rap battle with really has nothing and has no response to that. And so I feel like what they're understanding is that they're going to have to stop being afraid of the shit that's in the dark, being afraid of facing what's dark, facing what's hidden, facing what's not been exposed, and just kind of face the music. Like, yeah, maybe I did some shitty things in the past, and here's what I'm doing to fix that. Here's what I'm doing to come into balance and to heal that. And that's going to be the thing that's going to set them free. And that's what's happening in their mental space right now, is this understanding that if they ever want to get free of the fear, they're going to have to come into balance and deal with themselves. So what's going on in their heart space? We have Pahu. Again, if I'm not saying it right, feel free to correct me. This is about, in their heart space, they're recognizing that there's they need to release something. This is a card of ritual. This is a card of creating some sanctuary, sacred space, maybe some getting into a practice of meditation. This is about getting reconnected with their higher purpose. I really get very clearly that they're recognizing, at least, you know, that they're understanding that they have to stop living life from this like 3D human perspective and start looking at it from a more sacred lens, that understanding that life is sacred, that our purpose is sacred, getting into mission, getting into the space that we need to be in is going to be the thing that's going to really help them. And the Seven of Pentacles, this is about having a vision, creating it, and committing to it. So I feel like what they're shifting from is this almost like an ego-based energy, where they in the past, perhaps in their heart space, everything was about, you know, making them feel good, getting their ego stroked, making them feel like, you know, helping them to feel like getting their needs met by other sources, you know, having people see them in a certain light. And they're starting to understand that they need to release that attachment to the lower level, mundane, everyday kind of view, look at things from a more sacred, ritualistic perspective, understanding that we're not here just to like get our ego stroked and have our, you know, selfish needs met, but that we're here for a sacred purpose. There's something higher about our purpose, and really living that out and creating a vision that is more based on that, based on sacred service, based on that wisdom, being in service to the divine as opposed to service to the self. That's what's happening in their heart space. So what is their secret desire in terms of this connection with you? That's a no. 44, which is to many people also a twin flame number, because it's 4, you know, it's 11, 4 times. And this is intentions. Okay, so their secret desire for you, for this connection, kind of what's underneath the surface, what they're not speaking. This is about, this is reaping what you sow. Okay, this is what this is about, because you see like this there's like the seed and the water, and you know, this card is about reaping what they sow. So what their intention is, I really feel very clearly, is clearing karma. It's about getting back into right relationship and integrity. Like they are understanding on a spiritual level that they might have done some things that were shitty in this relationship, that they hurt you, that they caused some pain, that they caused some strife. They may have taken things from you that were not theirs to take. Okay, and so what they're understanding here is that they really understand that they need to clear the air. I keep getting this message. There's an real strong energy of needing to clear the air and coming back into right relationship, making amends, apologizing, and getting clear about what it is that they want to have going forward, and not letting the stuff from the past hold them back anymore. Again, those secrets, those things that they weren't within, that they weren't in connection with, that they were out of integrity with, really wanting to fix that energy so that they can move things forward. And the Two of Wands. Okay, so this is about, this card in this particular deck it says Dominion. This is also about really getting out into the world and putting your energy out. It's like they want, what I'm getting from this is that it could be, as this card is interpreted by this particular artist, this is about resolving injustice, living in a world that's free of injustice. I really get very clearly that there's a strong energy of wanting to come back into integrity and dominion and resolve any injustice, creating safe conditions, living out your deepest truth. But you can't live out your deepest truth if you're out of alignment, if you're not living in integrity. And so their intention right now, I really feel, is to clear the karma, get back on solid ground with you, so that they're not feeling like things are so, like there's a lot of darkness and secrets that are holding this back. They want to resolve what they've sown in the past. They want to sow positivity, peace, wholeness, integrity to go forward. So what is the shadow side that they're dealing with right now? We've got Hulu, which is not like the TV program. But this is about, really, if you see like the foot and the feather, this is really about getting clear of illusion. Okay, so this is really saying like, what their shadow is that they're still buying into some type of illusions. They're not seeing things entirely clearly. It's happening. Things are starting to clarify. Things are starting to come around. But they really need to ascend. Okay, their shadow is that until they can, you know, strip themselves of this veil, the illusions that they've been buying into, they're not really going to be able to fly the way that they need to. This is really also about seeing themselves in a state of illusion. They might be seeing themselves as in a different light. They might look at themselves and see like, which is actually very common. It's in psychology, it's called the self-serving bias. It's like we see ourselves in a more positive light than maybe other people see us. And that's because it's hard to face the dark side, the shadow side. But this is about really saying that they need to break free of any illusions and not be in denial and see things clearly, rise above it so that they can transcend and grow. That's the thing that's in the shadow right now, is that they are either buying into the illusions of themselves, like seeing themselves in a more positive light, or buying into other people's illusions and creating illusions, even like, you know, putting out a false image so people see them in a certain light and then not necessarily living that out. Like I said earlier, integrity, like having this idea, you know, kind of almost like a fear of being exposed for being something other than what you are. And that's because a lot of illusions are at play. So the shadow, it's interesting. Part of what's in their shadow, part of what is unacknowledged, part of what they're denying is this spiritual union. Part of it is that they're still denying this connection. Again, there's like an energy of really wanting to move toward it. There's an energy of wanting to resolve peace, resolve energies and come into a space of peace. But there's also this space of being in like denying this connection. denying its power, denying its beauty, putting it into the shadow, putting it into the unconscious, not really wanting to acknowledge that, you know, this connection wasn't like anything else. It wasn't typical. It wasn't, you know, the run-of-the-mill type of connection, but they're still in a space where they're not quite ready to face that. So that's sort of what's happening with them right now. So what's blocking them from coming forward? We've got Iwi. I'm just going to pull this one now because it feels like, oh wow, and the Messenger. I was saying because it feels like these messages really want to be read together from the jump, and so I'm glad that I did that. So we have this, the first card is about respect. Okay, so part of what's blocking this is that they may not have enough respect for themselves, or they may not have enough respect for you. It might be an energy of really wanting to be self-protective and taking care of their own interests without necessarily thinking about the ways that they have harmed others. And so I feel like that's really a part of what's happening. They really also need to... part of what's blocking it is that I feel like you might have done some things in an effort to teach them how to treat you, because that's what this card is also about, is about we teach people how to treat us. You've heard me say that before, but we... D Boone over on, what is his channel? D Boone LLE says, what we permit, we promote. And it's true. And that's one of the things about this card is what it's saying is that sometimes when we permit things, when we allow people to treat us like crappy or lie to us, and we engage in it, we don't have healthy boundaries, then it can be a real... then it becomes like we think it's acceptable. And this is a card of saying like, you know, no, we can't do that. We can't accept things that, we have to teach people to treat us the way that we want to be treated, including our sacred love connections. A lot of times people, and I get this question all the time, you know, about sacred love, how do we practice unconditional love and also have boundaries? Like, how do we not put up with abuse and whatnot and practice unconditional love? But unconditional love does not mean unconditional relationship. Unconditional love means that you will always love this person, you'll always hold them in regard, that you always wish for their highest good, that you want them to ascend and transform. It doesn't mean that you have to be in their... Excuse me, just had a random sneeze. That you have to be in their energy field or in their process as it's happening. Okay? Sometimes if people are not healthy, if they're toxic, if they're not conscious, if they're not available, if those things are happening, you don't have to stay in connection with them. You can be open to coming back into connection when they've risen up and, you know, can treat you the way that you deserve to be treated. But it doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sidelines and wait for them to grow. That's not at all what this is about. So part of what is why this is showing up in the block position is that might have been hard for them. If you were a person that said, you know, no, this isn't going to work for me, like I'm not going to do this, you don't get to treat me this way, they might have not responded to that well. They might have been really like, it might have been difficult for them to hear that. They might be accustomed to more codependent type of energies where people let them get away with all kinds of shit and then they're like, you know, never accountable. And then having someone that's like, no, you don't get to do that, might have been a big blow to their ego. So that could be something. But I also get that part of what's blocking it is that there's a level of self-respect that is lacking. That's part of what's blocking it. There's some self-respect, self-love that is preventing them from being able to move forward in this connection with you. The Messenger is about so part of what is happening here is that they're blocked in being able to come forward with the Messenger. This card would be the Hierophant in the traditional tarot, which is about status quo. This is about, you know, social and cultural institutions, marriage, religion, so on and so forth. So part of it might be that they're trying to uphold the status quo in their life, that they want people to perceive them in a certain light, to see them in a certain way, and so that's what's keeping them from being able to move forward in this connection with you. they might be trying to, again, like I just keep getting like hold the illusions, make people continue to think that things are a certain way as opposed to really facing what's really there. And so there's just, again, a path of spiritual growth that they need to have to go forward into this, into the future, and to bring these cycles to an end. Whether or not they will choose to do that remains to be seen. It feels like they're moving toward that, but there is still some resistance to being able to move forward fully. So let's move this aside. I hope that reading was helpful. That you'll enjoy those cards. If you like them, I'll be happy to do more readings with them. I like them because I have, a complete obsession with Hawaii and would love to eventually move there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pull two final messages, advice from Spirit, messages, advice from Spirit, from the Oracle of the Mermaids by Lucy Cavendish. So the advice, the Selkie in her skin, this is for you. Wow, guide. And we've got twins here. So here's the thing. It's saying reclaim your authenticity, okay? So the first card is literally about standing in your truth and reclaiming your authenticity. If you gave up anything of yourself, or, made compromises in this connection because of, the sacred love that you felt for this person, but you became inauthentic, or you feel like you kind of maybe, I don't really like the word sold out, but that's sort of what I'm feeling. If you feel like you sold out yourself in order for this connection, like you settled for things that you wouldn't normally settle for, or you put up with things that you're recognizing now wasn't really in your highest good. This is saying it's time to reclaim your authenticity. It's time to reclaim who you are at the core, not continuing to act out certain patterns or old energies or old patterns that just aren't serving you at this point. Excuse me. This is like reclaim your power, take back your authenticity, take back who you are, because that's going to be the thing that's going to help you to move forward. Now here's the other thing. Spirit's advice, the message is that there is a guide that you should be really connecting with. Whether that's me, a friend, another reader, one of your ascended masters, somebody in your community, a spiritual teacher, whatever. You'll know what that is for you. But it's important to get connected with that and to really get some deeper guidance to help you through this. I've said this before, and so forgive my redundancy, but this is one of those things that, like, sometimes we have to ask ourselves, if I could have resolved this situation on my own by now, I would have, right? And so if you're in a place where you're feeling like I've been stuck for a while, like I don't know how to move forward, I don't know how to reclaim my authenticity, how to speak my truth, how to be in my power, I don't know how to do those things. If that's where you've been and you've been landing there, it's time to reach out for some support. Get some guidance from somebody who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, and can help you move through it. Because if you don't, you're going to continue circling the same mountain. And that's the thing, like I always say with, in terms of coaching or therapy or whatever, is like, if you could have done it already, you would have. So there's no harm, and actually it's quite the opposite. It's actually quite a mature and wise energy to say, I know that I need some, some mentorship, somebody that's going to help guide me along this path. And in order to move through this, in order to be able to reclaim my authenticity, to reclaim who I am and be the person that I want to be in this world, like recognizing that and saying, reaching out for some support is never a bad thing. So I feel like for a lot of you, you're really on the precipice of some really significant positive changes happening in your life, and as is your counterpart, as is the person that you're listening for. I'm not seeing, it's definitely going to be challenges. There's still challenges ahead. There's still growth that needs to happen. But I really see that overall things are working in your highest good, and there's a positivity that's ahead. So be encouraged with that. I hope that this reading was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Take care. Bye.